to fight ISIS in Iraq and Syria. The Defense Secretary Ash Carter announcing the Pentagon will deploy what's being called a specialized expeditionary targeting force to Iraq to conduct raids, rescue hostages, gather intelligence, capture ISIS leaders, whether in Iraq or Syria. We're back with the ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee, Democratic Congressman Adam Smith of Washington State. The president was pretty blunt today at his news conference in Paris, criticizing Turkey, a NATO ally, which has one of the largest militaries in the world, 400,000 active duty troops, 200,000 reservists. President saying that there's nearly 100 kilometers on their border with Syria where they're not patrolling, that there's a transit point for foreign fighters. He says ISIS is shipping out oil from Syria into Turkey for sale to fund their terror operations. What's going on over here? Turkey's a NATO ally. Can't they close up that 100-kilometer area of the border?
Well, this is a huge part of the problem. We have two clear missions in Syria. We have to get rid of Assad. Assad is not a legitimate leader. And second, we have to get rid of ISIS. We have to do both because part of what fuels ISIS is Assad.
Well, why isn't Turkey stepping up?
I'm getting there. Because Turkey's number one goal when this whole thing started was to get rid of Assad. And quite frankly, Turkey and a number of other Arab states were not nearly as particular as they should have been about who they were funding in that effort. And a lot of the guns, ammunition funds wound up going to groups like al-Nusra and ISIS because, frankly, the Arab states didn't care. They just wanted Assad gone. Now that they see the threat, they're sort of caught in the middle. So you've got Turkey that's focused on eliminating Assad, whereas a lot of other folks are focused on eliminating ISIS. So they're focused on eliminating Assad. So I don't know what's going on back and forth across the Turkish border. Certainly there's fighters going back and forth across. But they need to close it. They need to recognize that, defeating Assad, you have to do both. You have to defeat Assad and defeat ISIS. And if you have a strategy that's only helping one, then it's not enough.
ISIS supposedly is recruiting a lot of assets here in the United States. A new study out today by George Washington University says that it's almost unprecedented. About 300 ISIS Twitter experts are recruiting people to go ahead and join this movement. Is enough being done to stop this movement from growing here in the United States?
We're working on it, but it's a difficult threat. In fact,
why are they so good in social media, and the U.S., which basically created and developed social media, not so good at it?
They have a simpler message, Wolf, and they are simply preaching to the disaffected. It's always easier to preach to people who have nothing to lose and who are disaffected by what's going on. But I met with the NSA director, Chairman Thornberry, and I did today. And part of the problem is, ISIS they're smarter about this stuff. They once they find someone who they think they can work with, they encrypt everything, and it's harder to get access to that information. But look, social media appeals to the lowest common denominator. You can access whoever you want to access, and that's the real threat. And all of this concern about the Syrian refugees go through about a 2-year process. Any refugee does, and are vetted very, very carefully. What I'm concerned about is exactly what you described. They can recruit people who we don't even know, who are born and raised here, and a lot of times, no connection whatsoever. They're just people who are, as I said, well, disaffected is a polite way of putting it. They're unhappy with their lives. They're looking for some sort of answer, and so ISIS takes advantage of that and uses social media to recruit them. And it's something that we have to really be vigilant about, and it's a difficult problem to get at.
But they are good in social media. They got some pretty sophisticated online magazines. They recruit not only in the U.S., but in Europe. But my only point is, why can't the U.S. counter that? Because we're pretty good at social media, too, I suspect.
Yeah, well, we're trying to counter it, but ISIS is trying to appeal to a particular group of people, to Muslims who feel like they've been under assault from the West. So if the West then comes out with a message, and we've tried this, we've done this in the Al-Qaeda wars, and a variety of different things. We've used video games, we've used comic books, we've used different ways to try to appeal to people to push them away from joining jihad. But when the message is coming from a Westerner versus coming from, this is why we have to have that local support, why we have to have Muslims, and there are many that are out there doing that. They're the ones who really need to read it. The messenger matters, okay? And if the messenger is the West, you're going to be less able to go after a disaffected Muslim youth than if you're a Muslim.
It would be great if the Sunni Muslims were leading the charge against ISIS right now in big numbers.
They have to.
Let them get the job done.
Everyone keeps talking about winning. That's the only way we win, is if what you just said happens.
Congressman Adam Smith, thanks.